You are listening to the audio production of The Babylonian Captivity of the Church, the second of three treatises of 1520 by Martin Luther, published by Audiobooks and read by Wayne Evans. On the Babylonian Captivity of the Church. Martin Luther, of the Order of St. Augustine, salutes his friend Herman Toluchius. Whether I will or not, I am compelled to become more learned day by day, since so many great masters vie with each other in urging me on and giving me practice. I wrote about indulgences 2 years ago, but now I extremely regret having published that book. At that time, I was still involved in a great and superstitious respect for the tyranny of Rome, which led me to judge that indulgences were not to be totally rejected, seeing them, as I did, to be approved by so general a consent among men. And no wonder, for at that time it was I alone who was rolling the stone. Afterwards, however, with the kind aid of Sylvester and the friars, who supported indulgences so strenuously, I perceived that they were nothing but mere impostures of the flatterers of Rome, whereby to make away with the faith of God and the money of men. And I wish I could prevail upon the booksellers and persuade all who have read them to burn the whole of my writings on indulgences, and in place of all I have written about them, to adopt this proposition: indulgences are wicked devices of the flatterers of Rome. After this, Eckius and Emster, with their fellow conspirators, began to instruct me concerning the primacy of the Pope. Here, too, not to be ungrateful to such learned men, I must confess that their works helped me on greatly. For, while I had denied that the papacy had any divine right, I still admitted it had a human right. But after hearing and reading the super-subtle subtleties of those coxcombs, by which they so ingenuously set up their idol, my mind being not entirely unteachable in such matters, I now know, and am sure, that the papacy is the kingdom of Babylon, and the power of Nimrod, the mighty hunter. Here, moreover, that all may go prosperously with my friends, I entreat the booksellers, and entreat my readers, to burn all that I have published on this subject, and to hold to the following proposition: the papacy is the mighty hunting of the Bishop of Rome. This is proved from the reasonings of Eckius, of Emser, and of the Leipzig lecturer on the Bible. At the present time, they are playing at schooling me concerning communion in both kinds, and some other subjects of the greatest importance. I must take pains not to listen in vain to these philosophical guides of mine. A certain Italian friar of Cremona has written a revocation of Martin Luther to the Holy See. That is to say, not that I revoke, as the words imply, but that he revokes me. This is the sort of Latin that the Italians nowadays are beginning to write. Another friar, a German of Leipzig, lecture, as you know, on the whole canon of the Bible, has written against me concerning the sacrament in both kinds, and is, about as I hear, to do still greater and wonderful wonders. The Italian, indeed, has cautiously concealed his name, perhaps alarmed by the examples of Cajetan and Sylvester. The man of Leipzig, however, as befits a vigorous and fierce German, has set forth in a number of verses on his title page his name, his life, his sanctity, his learning, his office, his glory, his honor, almost his very shoe lasts. From him, no doubt, I shall learn not a little, since he writes a letter of dedication to the very Son of God. So familiar are these saints with Christ who reigns in heaven. In short, 3 magpies seem to be addressing me. One, a Latin one, well. Another, a Greek one, still better. The third, a Hebrew one, best of all. What do you think I have to do now, my dear Herman, but to prick up my ears? The matter is handled at Leipzig by the observance of the Holy Cross. Hitherto, I have foolishly thought that it would be an excellent thing, if it were determined by the General Council, that both kinds in this
Sample complete. Ready to continue?